Well, shalom to those of you who are new to this channel or who've been on YouTube for a long time. It's I started it back, I think it was about 2008 when I did a website, and my website had been up for about 7 years, and started the YouTube channel, which my previous one was taken down due to a flag by Times Square Church, and I just prayed that they'd be rebuked, whoever it was. And I think one of the pastors died. That was back in about 2009. So, the footage that you saw the other day was when I was here in Ghana last, for the birth of my son. And there is a bit of a story to that. The Lord really did some miracles in the fact that He gave my fiance at that time a passport and a visa to come, but she lost it. And also the grandmother forbade her to come to the UK. She didn't want her to come to the UK. And also what happened was that I was looking after my son. He got anemic after his circumcision, which means that there's a lack of, I think it's red blood cells, which means there's a lack of oxygen. So I took him to a specialist to get him checked out, and my fiance at that time, you saw pictures of her the other day, had postnatal depression. She was convinced that I had run away with my son, ran away with him. I was taking him to the hospital to get a checkup, and he got medication for a month, which increases the iron in the blood, and it basically heals the anemia. But what she did while I was there, she contacted the airport police, she contacted Ghana police, she contacted just about every... this really happened, by the way. And so basically I was coming home and on the bus with my son. Next thing, I was getting text messages, phone calls from who knows who they were, family members and whatnot. And I basically didn't know what to do. I'm thinking, what is going on here? I was being accused of kidnapping my son, and I was basically on my way back home on the bus. My fiance at that time, as I said, was suffering from postnatal depression. Like, she was doing things like leaving my son on the bed and just going off doing things, and basically what happened was she'd come back and he had fallen off the bed, and the floors here are all tiles, hard tiles, and you're only talking about a 3 or 4 month child. Anyhow, what I ended up doing was I stayed at a local place that I was attending this university. I was staying close to Ghana University, and I was doing Biblical Hebrew. I was doing a couple of other courses, and I ended up staying at one of the student residencies, and a couple of them helped me take care of my son for about a month, and he recovered from his anemia. And one day when I was out, I left him to the care of one of the girls who had to go out and do a bit of shopping. And when I came back, my fiance had managed to track us down and brought the army, police, all the rest of it with them. And I was out at that time, and they basically took my son away, and that's how it happened. I don't know what to say about that. That's the efficiency of the local police force here. If somebody's got money, which somebody obviously put up money to do that, to take my son away, and I pray the Lord forgives them for that. But that wasn't the last time I saw him. I came back to Ghana again, and I saw him back about 2012 when he was about almost 2 or 3 years old. And the family agreed that the fiance, Joyce, wasn't a capable woman, and she really wasn't. She had been sleeping down the beach. That's where I met her. The first day I came to Ghana, actually, me and some friends prayed for her, and that's how we got to know her. And next thing, yeah, we're together after a few weeks, And this was a prophecy that I would have a son 10 years from when my father died. When my father died was October 1999. And it was to the day that my dad died that my son was born. And I've tried to explain this to people. I've tried to explain this to pastors. They don't understand it. Basically, they deal with it as if it's very sinful and wicked and all of that. When I've got a huge testimony about what the Lord did. Joyce also, who's my fiancée, she tried to abort the pregnancy about 3 or 4 times, which she admitted after David was born, my son. But through the power of the Lord wouldn't allow the abortion to take place. In fact, she had many abortions. Joyce, very many abortions. And that's what I'm really going to say about that, because I'm not out to slander anyone or whatever. It's not my style. In fact, the Lord's style is to, bless people. But if they're not interested in that, then they're the ones that leave the Lord. People choose to leave the Lord. That's their choice. But even, of course, I've been falsely accused of things I don't quite know how. When I'm trying to give a testimony and the things that the Lord has done, to bring my son out of the womb, and what a testimony it was. Even the midwife thought my name was David. She called me over and said, "Hey, David, she had just woken up. My son was delivered without the midwife." All I did was basically bow my head and pray while my fiancée was giving birth. That's all I did. And the birth just took a few minutes. No one was there, but there was an angel there. When my fiancée went into labour, I saw a big, massive angel that was covered in glittering clothing, and I believe it was an angel of God that came and delivered him from the womb. And the midwife woke up when he was born, when he'd just been born, and said, "Hey, David," because she was hearing David all the time in her head. And I said, "My name's John. My name's not David." And she's saying, "Well, I'm hearing David, and I'm saying, "Well, I'm hearing the same name, so this must be my son's name." That's what we called it. That's just some of the testimony. It's a huge testimony, but the fact is that the devil's been very, very busy, especially with local pastors, especially with I don't know what else. Obviously, the local witch doctors, the local what they call fetish priests. The family themselves has a track record of witchcraft. And so I thank you for your prayers. Like 1 or 2 of you left some comments on the video the other day. And I definitely ask for your prayers that for my son. The Lord told me many years ago, probably now about almost 20 years ago, that I would have sons who would serve him and all of that. But it's the Lord who will bring it to pass. But that's my firstborn son, and I can definitely pray for him. So I just thank you for that. The other things, obviously, that's been happening is Photohelix. The channel decided to take it down. So he'll be a big loss. He's one of my favourite YouTubers. One of the people I've been watching. His videos are such heavy, powerful information, all associated with scripture, and the way he presents it is so, or was so enjoyable and entertaining. And it seemed at times a little bit strange, but good strange, if you know what I mean. He had a way of just getting through to people. I had such a gift. He has such a gift. So I was trying to encourage him the other day to stay on YouTube, but there must be reasons for it, because a man's family comes first, Um, and in the face of accusations and what the devil does, he was doing the hosting the talk shows. He brought me on a couple of times, and that was nice, because it's nice to have a platform for people who are serving the Lord that are not otherwise known in churches. And the people I mostly watch on YouTube are not part of churches, but they are Christians. Because obviously a lot of the churches are not teaching the people what they should know. I've had some very interesting conversations. If you check my channel, going back 10 years, there's still some videos there, I think, that are from when I was in Ghana the last time, and I had some conversations with some pastors, and one of them was called an ICGC pastor. It's one of the churches here, which is International Gospel Church or something is called. And he knew a lot of information about the Nephilim, about the certain demons, about history of certain things in Africa, lineages, about certain tribes. But that information, they don't present that information in a church, because the churches are about 80% women here, and we know that women are more emotional than men. Men really go for the intellect more, but women really go for the feel good and the sort of obviously the praise and worship is brilliant here. It's so encouraging. Some churches you go to, all the praise and worship is very uplifting. It is wonderful, but I would say the teaching at times is beyond. To say it's extremely poor would even be generous. Some of the teaching here is absolutely terrible. But anyhow, the praise and worship is good. There's always strengths and weaknesses within cultures and things like that, But when we have all the churches here, there's a lot of Mormons, there's a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses in West Africa. I go out, talking to them. Sometimes they're on the road. Anyhow, that's beside the point. We're on just. I was talking about Photohelix, and his witness. I believe he's been doing, meeting with a lot of people, probably even in his area, and things like that, which is great. But his main ministry was online, but I just felt it was enough, But I really would just think that the depth and the level of information and the ministry he had is really fantastic, and he still has, but obviously he's not going to do it on YouTube anymore. So it's just the way things are just now, and there's a lot of idiots obviously on YouTube, flat earthers and such, that they just won't take a telling. They just will agree to disagree. They don't want to, and they end up calling you names, and it's not nice at all, And then there's certain people that hate the name of Yahweh, and yet they call themselves Christians. I just got to shrug my shoulders at that. I don't know why that is. Why can you hate the name of Yahweh if you're a Christian? Fair enough. Praise the name of Jesus. That's great. That's the translation we got in our language. There's nothing really wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong praising the name of Yeshua. I definitely don't think there's anything wrong praising the name of Yahweh. But then people just get upset about that. They don't want to do that, and well, that's fine. Sometimes they say, well, we're King James only, but then there's little words in the King James Bible they don't agree with. That's fine, but I mean, if I'm getting dreams about unicorns, and I'm seeing angels in the night of my son's birth, and then it says unicorns in the King James Bible, and the animal was always related to Israel, going back thousands of years. I mean, this is a lineage that goes back thousands of years. The unicorn is always the sort of national animal of Israel. The lion was for Judah. Obviously, you look at the British coat of arms and you get the Rothschilds lion. They're the fake Jews from Germany and so on. But anyhow, they got the lions, and then you got the unicorn, which is the royal house of Israel. Going back to the lineage of David, which some of the families in Scotland and Ireland, going back to the Irish kings, claim lineage from Israel. Some of them, at least. Some of these Irish Celtic tribes. When you look at the Scottish Declaration of Independence, there is a tribe that's in Europe called the Scythians, and they're found in the northeast of Scotland, around the Aberdeen area, and they used to be known as the Picts. And even in that Arbroath Declaration of Independence, is telling you that the Scythians, which are even known throughout certain parts of Europe and Slovakia and Slovenia, around there, Croatia, around these areas, sort of spread throughout Europe, that tribe could be an Israelite tribe, just like there are Israelite tribes in Africa, like the Igbos that I was talking about the other day. The Celts were not from Europe. The Celts were from North Africa, and obviously you check the race of the Celts. They were, going back a few hundred years, a little bit darker than the other Celtic tribes that were probably in Europe a lot longer than them. Like the Brits is counted as a Celtic tribe. Why they were counted as a Celtic tribe is because of their religion, because they converted to Christianity very, very early. And the Celts were the only tribe in Europe to actually survive and rebel against the Catholic Church. It's not to say that they had a perfect religion, but when you go to Iona, there's a Jerusalem Bible there. It has the name of Yahweh. I think maybe even the name of Yeshua there, but it has the name of Yahweh there, which was built by St. Columba from Ireland, from the Celtic tribe called the Scots. And of course, most of these Scots were enslaved. The ones that were Christians and were enslaved and went to Jamaica and parts of America to be slaves. There's a lot of Scottish and Irish slaves. Why? Because they were Christians. The Catholic Church didn't need them. The same as, almost the same as what happened to the slaves in Africa. A lot of them would have become Christian. They've gotten captured by their wicked neighbours. I don't think it was anything to do with really tribal affiliation, but I think it was more to do with, again, Christianity, and you can check that out yourself, the history of it. Christians are always the number one target of Satan, but a lot of Christians do actually come from tribes of Israel, which are located right throughout all the world. And rabbis know this. There's rabbis on YouTube that teach this. You know that many of the Celtic tribes, some of the North African tribes, so I'm thinking of one or two names, but even the Gypsies themselves are said to come from Egypt. Gypsy is a short name for Egypt. Gypsies. You see, it was a nickname that came from Egypt, but if you talk to some Gypsies, they believe they actually came from India. But then again, these tribes are moved right through all the earth. They're moved around for thousands of years. A lot of these Israelite tribes who were kicked out of the land. And it's not quite as clear cut as the fact that, Ephraim is England and Manasseh is America, they say, and Ephraim is England. It's not quite as clear cut as that. I mean, the tribes are all mixed up. The Lord showed me I'm one of the tribes of Israel going back. There was 4 main chief tribes of Israel, which were Judah, Dan, I believe it was Ephraim, and Reuben. And they were set forth north, south, east, and west on the tabernacle. And I think it was Dan that was in the north. I think it was Reuben that was in the south. I think it may have been Judah that was in the east, and then Ephraim that was in the west. Could have been that. You can check that yourself. Anyhow, I'm just rambling on here. Obviously, just on to say hello, to acknowledge Photohelix's ministry on YouTube and wish him all the best. They had the honour of praying with him the other night, and really, I can honestly say, while he was praying for me, I felt the Holy Spirit come down on me, and I felt a peace. I can definitely say that, and I hope that when I was praying for him, I was trying to encourage him, to give him strength, to stand for the Lord, and I just hope I did that. So I hope you stay blessed, everyone. Pray for me out here in the work that the Lord's called me to do. Shalom in Yeshua's name.